And joining me now, live from the United States, I'm so grateful that you stayed up. Former Navy SEAL and FBI agent Jonathan Gilliam, many thanks for your time. How have two people been able to get within shooting distance of a former president and potential future one so far during this campaign?
Well, first of all, let me tell you how incredible that opening was. But what you did there is you demonstrated the reality of who is running the FBI and the Secret Service and all these other agencies in the United States government. When you take that ridiculousness that you just got through playing, that is the same competency level of the people that run the Secret Service now. And you see that when you look back at the first assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, and you look at how ridiculous that threat assessment was. I do threat assessments all the time. In fact, I had a client, the Harlem Globetrotters. I do their security, my company does, and they were over in Australia this year. We do threat assessments in every arena that we go to. All my other clients, it's the same way. Every day we're doing threat assessments, and none of us can figure out how you would allow that perimeter not to go out far enough. Okay, so that was incompetence. The communications were incompetence. And then we saw the director, the former director, she was just as incompetent. So the question was it incompetence or is that willing intent where they leave that perimeter open? But you couldn't really make any distinguishing factor one way or the other until this week when there was a second attempt and the same exact vulnerability was utilized by another assassin to create and take advantage of a fatal funnel, which President Trump got within 400 yards, which is the max within the max effective range of an SKS, which is a type of rifle that he used. And he sat there on that perimeter within 400 yards for 12 hours, and no one ever checked that perimeter. And that's a perimeter that the president goes to, or that golf course goes to every week pretty much to play golf. Yeah. So when you look at the incompetence, and that's under the new director who made no changes from the old director, and he comes out and uses verbiage that sounded just like what Kamala Harris was doing, where there's no answers to the issues that they have and why they don't have these standards. When you look at it that way, it does look like a felonious intent to leave the perimeters open just as much, if not more, than it does that it's just bad standard operating procedures.
Yeah, I can't get my head around it, Jonathan. And I was over in the States at the golf course a couple of weeks back, sitting down with Eric and Lara. And Eric made the comment, you know, we don't need this as a family. Our father's getting shot at every day. And I kind of thought, oh, that's a bit of an exaggeration. It's actually not. How does this happen again, particularly after the first instance, when most normal, reasonable people would assume that they would go into overdrive to protect him, given what occurred a few weeks ago?
Right. Well, having been a Navy SEAL before I was an FBI special agent, so I know how to attack and I know how to defend both. And so when I look at these things, when I do my threat assessments, I look at it from the attacker's point of view. I ask the question, who would attack? Why would they attack? I get into that mindset, and then I look for avenues of approach, critical areas, and when those areas are critical that I can exploit. And I can't see that being done here. They are not, the Secret Service is not doing that when they do these threat assessments. And when you start looking at the background of a lot of these individuals, they're very liberal, very leftist, the same thing with the FBI. And so from an investigative standpoint, I can't tell you whether it is nefarious intent, the people that are approving these standards, or whether it is just overall incompetence.
It just doesn't make sense.
I don't think incompetence would be the answer.
Yeah, okay. Jonathan, last question. I don't have much time left. Should he be getting private security around him? What does he need to now take control of this situation and say, clearly what is going on now is not enough?
I suggest, and I've suggested this all over social media, but I don't have the contacts. But I suggest that he does hire a company like mine that has former special forces, so we could just do perimeter security, because that's where all these attacks are coming from. The Secret Service does a fairly good job at the immediate protection around him, as long as they're communicating, which they didn't do during the first attempted assassination. But perimeter security is where they're lacking. Private security to do that. He shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But right now, at this point, he's unable to rely on the Secret Service and local law enforcement to do that.
Yeah, great stuff. Jonathan Gilliam, really enjoyed